Well, I expect that the spines of the entire world must be tingling with anticipation at this very moment because it is time to launch another episode of Disclosure, cutting edge talk radio from the good people at the Voice of Prophecy. My name is Sean Boonstra, and unfortunately, this is about as cutting edge as I actually get. The cutting edge thing was a bit of an exaggeration, but I do have my cutting edge spouse here in studio with me, the lovely, the talented, the edgy Jean Boonstra.
Well, glad to be back in the studio, and I don't think anyone's ever described me as edgy. That doesn't really describe me.
Oh, come on, man. When we're having an argument, you're edgy.
Well, maybe there.
You can be edgy.
with words.
You can, and I've seen you knit. You're an edgy knitter.
I'm an edgy
you're
knitter.
An edgy knitter. When
those
you knit,
two words don't go together.
Oh, no. You're a cutting edge knitter, and when you knit, the rest of the family is on the edge of their seats. We cannot wait to see what you are going to knit and purl next. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. How many more knits before a purl? See, that's really edgy. You are an
super edgy
knitist.
Yeah. Okay. I can be an edgy knitter. I'll take that.
Cutting edge, bleeding edge knitting by that. That would be a great blitting nog. That would be a great knitting blog. And someone's going to steal that now. I got to get online while we're on the air.
I don't know.
And bleeding edge knitting.
Bleeding edge knitting. You know, the knitting world was all about blogs a while ago, about 15 years ago. And now it's all about podcasts. And so
there are knitting.
Your
you are
is a
kidding me.
Late.
You are kidding me. There are not knitting podcasts.
Absolutely. Audio and video.
What do you listen
Lots
to in a
them.
knitting podcast?
You listen to people talk about projects they're working on, things they're dreaming about. The knitting community is huge.
Oh, I see Joel knitting, nodding in there. Joel, no, he's nodding. No, don't you bring me into this. You listen to the knitting podcast, don't you, Joel? Yeah, he does. He admitted it. And they're cutting edge.
He's an early adopter of the knitting
I know
podcast.
when you listen to podcasts, so it's when you go to bed at night.
Yeah,
to help
they put
you
me
sleep.
to sleep, to be honest.
Well, a knitting podcast. How exciting could a knitting podcast be?
Well, the audio ones are not terribly exciting, but the video ones are great because they show you all the yarn, and sometimes you go behind the scenes at these excellent events like Rhinebeck, and they're a lot of fun. That's a whole other part of my life that you are not a part of, I understand, but I love it.
You are old. You are
Hey,
officially
not
old
every
now.
knitter
You
is
have crossed
old.
the line. You are
That's
old.
a stereotype.
No, seriously? All right, poll. How many people in the control booth listen to knitting podcasts? How many of you?
That's a
Hareem.
small
Joel pointed to Hareem. Hareem's into knitting podcasts. All right. We should probably get into our topic, though. It's not knitting. Our topic isn't knitting.
No, surprisingly, it isn't.
No, and we should probably get into the topic because last time we tackled this, we ran out of time.
We did.
So maybe one of us should not be so chatty all the time. That'd be,
one of us.
Yeah, one of us should not be chatty all the time so that we can spend more time on the meat and potatoes of our topic.
The meat and potatoes. Well, what are the meat and potatoes of this week's show?
Well, actually, this is the Truth About Angels Part 2. Remember last time we did the Truth About Angels Part 1, I was going to have you do a big drum roll so that I could announce the topic. Do you remember what happened?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was not my finest hour.
No, you just
Definitely
went ahead
not.
and announced the topic from underneath me. You popped my bubble. You burst it on national radio, international radio.
International radio.
And I asked for a drum roll and you announced it. So, but I forgave you last time because if I remember right, you just had a blood draw.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Right.
That morning before coming into studio, I went and had a blood draw. And at some point during that program, I was just a little woozy. I remember Amanda, our social media intern, she ran and got me a candy during a break so I would have more energy.
Okay,
it was
that
not
was
the
it.
best hour.
I remember that. We were checking your blood levels throughout the show. You want to go back and see the Truth About Angels Part 1. It was, I would check your blood level at every break.
Yeah, and it was very scientific.
That's
if
right. I was just
right.
watching, the blood come back up to the top. Or maybe you were just getting angrier with me as the show went on. Maybe that's why your face was getting redder.
No, it was the blood.
All right. Well, let's review. Let's quickly talk about what we talked about last time on the Truth About Angels. Good. And we raised a whole bunch. I mean, we could probably review for an hour again, but the things that we studied, and you can go back to voiceofprophecy.com and find this disclosure episode. Or I think at disclosuradio.com.
Disclosuradio.com.
Oh,
yeah,
look at
both.
that. Disclosure.
Either
or
one.
on iTunes or on Stitcher.
Stitcher.
Skechers are shoes,
right.
right? Skechers are shoes. Stitcher is a radio thing.
Any of the major podcast platforms.
You can find
the
show. The Truth About Angels, Disclosure with Sean and Jean Boonstra. That's how you find this. All right. We talked about angels. We found out human beings, contrary to Hollywood, human beings do not become angels when they die, right?
Right.
We saw in Psalm 8, that human beings were created lower than the angels. And we saw in Job 38 that angels sang for joy at the sight of creation. They saw us being created. We are not the same, and you don't become an angel when you die. It's not found in the Bible. We also looked at the sheer number of angels. We did a little head count of angels. We looked at Daniel 7. We looked at Revelation 4 and 5, where it mentions 10,000 times 10,000 angels, which would be 100 million. And there are multipliers there. They said and thousands and thousands. It could be multiplying by thousands or adding thousands. I don't know which, but at least 100 million angels. We saw that angels are impressive when you see them. They're imposing. One angel at the tomb of Jesus caused 2 Roman soldiers to pass out. They fainted at his appearance. And it said that the angel's appearance was like lightning, and we saw that in a number of places throughout the Bible. We looked at Ezekiel's vision of the wheel within a wheel. We saw angelic beings who looked like burning torches and looked like lightning. And we saw in Psalm 103 that angels are known to excel in strength. So they're not sort of little cherubs strumming harps that you see on Victorian postcards. They're imposing. Most people, they kind of get soft at the knees when they see an angel. They kind of melt a little bit. Yeah.
And in that same passage, Psalm 103, we saw the angels do his word and heed the voice of his word. So angels live to do God's will.
Right.
And that same passage calls angels God's ministers.
Right. We found out they're full-time servants for God. They live to do what he asks them to do. We saw that angels function as messengers. That's one of the things God wants them to do. That's the very meaning of the Greek word that is translated as angel in the New Testament. It's agalos, and it means messenger. So we saw, for example, Daniel chapter 9, Gabriel comes from heaven with a message for Daniel to help him understand a prophecy and a previous vision that he had had.
Right.
And Gabriel, of course, came to tell Mary, guess what? You're going to be the mother of Messiah.
Yeah.
So it's agalos, messenger. And so we also saw in that case that human beings can also be angels. And sometimes they're defined as angels, not angelic beings, but angels in the sense that they carry a message from God.
Right, in the role that they carry.
Right, we saw that in Revelation 1 through 3, where the leaders of the 7 churches were called the angels of those churches.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we also saw that angels appear to be organized in sort of a military fashion.
Yep.
Gabriel received a command to come and talk to Daniel, and Revelation 19 has Jesus leading the angelic armies of heaven. We also saw Revelation 12, where the angels help drive out Satan and the fallen angels from heaven.
So they seem to be organized as an army. They are the army of heaven. We looked at the concept of guardian angels and found biblical support for that idea. I've got to admit that I was always skeptical that that was actually in the Bible anywhere. I thought, oh, that's got to be more Hollywood. But Psalm 34 talks about the angel of the Lord being encamped around God's people. And in Matthew chapter 8, we saw that Jesus actually mentions children having personal angels assigned to them.
It's very comforting.
That is very comforting. And we also saw, what else we think? Let's see. Oh, angels sometimes are sent to rescue people.
Right.
Like Peter in Acts chapter 12, they're going to cut Peter's. That story. They're going to cut Peter's head off in Acts chapter 12, and he gets a good night's sleep. Yeah, and even when everything's going well, I can't sleep at night.
I know.
Yeah, it's not fair. But an angel rescues him. Sometimes, though, angels don't rescue people when it's permissible in God's universe, and this would be a show all on its own. But for the example of Jesus. Jesus in Gethsemane is not delivered from the fate that's about to come because the whole salvation of the world is at stake. But in that case, an angel is sent to comfort him. So that kind of summarizes what we did in episode number 1, which makes you wonder, why couldn't we have just done that? We should just do bullet point shows and just rattle off the topics and then play music for the next 45 minutes because we're done.
I don't think so.
Oh, that would make my life easier.
So. It would, wouldn't it? It
because
would make show prep a lot easier.
I always run out of things to say.
Do you? No.
Who would you guess, if somebody were to have clocked our 25 years of marriage together and measure who has uttered the most words in 25 years between you and me, who do you think would win?
Are you talking in all circumstances?
All circumstances,
at home,
all
in
time.
Work?
Yeah, who do you think has uttered most words?
Well, actually, it might be pretty even because even though you talk more in many settings, I think overall, probably when we're at home, I talk more. And I
can't get in a word edgewise.
To the kids.
I can't get in a word edgewise when I'm at home. It's like I'm out talked by all these females.
And we're both in this kind of work where we're both communicating all the time. So even though you talk more than I do in certain contexts, it probably evens out in the end. We're probably pretty close.
I think it's probably true.
Yeah.
I'm pretty chatty for a guy.
You're very chatty for a guy. You break all the stereotypes for guys.
Not all of them. Shh, there are guys watching in this. No, hey, in this month's bullpen, I found out Alex likes shopping. I do not like shopping.
Alex likes shopping. Cool.
He loves shopping.
Nice.
Yeah,
you
can go
definitely
shopping.
don't like shopping.
I hate shopping.
But you know what? Here's the thing. I don't like shopping either. I like two kinds of shopping.
Oh, that is not true.
No, it's true.
Oh, that is not true.
You know it's true. I
you love shopping.
Grocery shopping. I love grocery shopping, and I love Target shopping. I don't like malls. I don't like clothes shopping. Well, I like shoe shopping. So maybe I need to make a
You know
qualifier.
what? Yeah, you know what? I have Find Friends on my phone. I know where you are.
I'm never at the mall.
No,
when do you ever find
you're
me
at
at the mall?
Michael's. You're at the Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
You're at Target.
I like Target.
What do you like about Target?
I love Target. It's just a little bit of everything, and it's mostly practical things. The thing about the mall is I don't really need that stuff. The thing about Target, I actually need that stuff. It's practical, and so I
Yes,
I
you
enjoy
come home
spending
with
time there.
entirely practical things from Target all the time. What did you come
Mostly.
home with the other day?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Uh-huh.
Is this an interrogation?
Yeah. What did you come home with the
I
other
don't
day?
know what you're
and you
talking
just
about.
took it back?
Oh, yeah. Well, I bought you a present,
Yeah.
and you didn't like it.
No, I didn't like it.
So I'm taking it back.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
like it at all. It was
I got
completely
you
unnecessary.
one of those SodaStream machines.
Yeah.
And you said you would never use it.
I would never
so
use it.
it's going
'Cause
back to Target.
At night when nobody's around, I use Joel's Soda Stream.
Oh, well, that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah,
Thanks, Joel.
I drink out of his bottle. I just drink right out of the spout. I don't even know how to use it. Yeah, says Joel's making a face. I just
He's
put my
like,
mouth up
"Ugh."
to the spout, and I take that soda straight. Not drinking it out of a wimpy. Oh, Joel says he does the same thing. Ew.
Ew.
Oh, I've had my mouth on that thing.
No, you haven't.
All right,
Hopefully.
we got to get back to our
Let's
topic.
get back to it. Where
Yeah.
should we start as we
And,
pick
well,
up part 2
apparently
about
we're going to be
angels?
starting with a break because we had to talk about
Oh.
Target for so long. But okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm thinking we're going to do.
Okay.
Let's hit a couple of things because we looked at all of those general categories of angels. And if you get into the Bible, it's a huge topic. I mean, we could do 20 shows on angels and never hit the end of what I think we ought to talk about in this department. But we talked about all those general characteristics that we just summarized a moment ago. Mm-hmm. And I want to zoom in on a couple of topics. I want to talk about what is an angel versus an archangel.
Ooh, good topic.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. What is an archangel? Because I do think that we've got some medieval superstition we need to wade our way through in that department and look at what the Bible actually says. And the second thing I want to look at today is what does the Bible say about cherubim and seraphim? What exactly is a cherub, singular, or a seraph, that's the singular, or cherubim and seraphim in plural? These are characters that show up in the Bible all the time. And we sing about them in our hymns, cherubim and seraphim. And
I think that'll be good because when we think of cherubs, we have a very visual picture that pops to mind that maybe isn't quite accurate.
Yep, and if you want all of your hopes and dreams dashed, stay tuned because I'm going to go after the cherubs. And no, they are not chubby little babies with angels' wings who sit on clouds and watch us strum harps and read books, right? They're not off of a Victorian Christmas card. They're impressive beings, and what the Bible says about them is kind of mind-blowing. In fact, when we get to that study, if we have time to get through it all today, I think I'm going to show you something that will revolutionize the way you look at your own future, your own afterlife, and the kingdom of heaven altogether. There's a detail that I think has fallen by the wayside in recent history in Christianity, and I hear the music. I'm out of time, isn't it? Here I am chatting away. We've got to take a little break. We'll come back with archangels, cherubim, and seraphim right after this.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like, Does my life really matter to God? And A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter most to you in each of the 26 Discover Bible Guides. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
I think it's a sign of my greatly advanced age, but this past weekend I managed to blow my back out doing something. You know what I was doing? I was reaching over for a book that was on the floor by the bed, and I kind of twisted over, reached the book, and when I came back up, something went zing.
Ow.
Yeah.
Isn't middle age fun?
No, it's not
really
fun at all.
isn't,
And
it?
I'm getting way up there in years. I'm about to begin my 6th decade of life.
Yeah, that sounds worse than it is. You're
But
not
that is
quite
no. That's what your
50.
50s. That's what your 50s are.
That's true.
And so you
accurate,
bend over
but-
to tie your shoe. Your back goes out. Your eyeball falls out of your head while you're down there tying your shoe, and everything breaks. Everything breaks. So then you have a special cushion for me, and I've rejected that. That's no longer in the studio. I sat on that. That actually made it worse. But you notice I'm shifting around in my seat quite a bit.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I can't wait for heaven. Okay, let's talk about angels. We promised we were going to talk about angels versus archangels. And if we've got time, we'll move on to cherubim and seraphim. What does the Bible
Okay.
actually say?
Good. Well, let's talk about archangels. What is an archangel?
Okay, well, it's a hierarchical term, right? An archangel would be above the angels, the same way that an archbishop is above bishops, or an archvillain would be the chief of all villains. That's like,
So
that sounds like a Batman episode, but
It's pronounced differently, but it's the same spelling, ARCH.
that's right. But archangel. I don't know. Has anybody ever said archangel? Maybe they have.
Perhaps.
People tend to say archangel.
Archangel
though.
is
Right.
what I'm
So
used
an
to.
archangel obviously outranks the other angels, and so there you go.
Okay. So we know there are 10,000 times 10,000
Right.
angels.
That was from our first episode.
Right. But how many archangels are there?
Well, actually, just one. And here's one of the first places that we've allowed mythology to take over. I know we talk about archangels in the Christian church as if there's piles of them, but you will never find archangels plural in the Bible. It's always singular every single time.
Okay. Well, now I'm thinking about that old Christian hymn, Sean, now that you talk
Are you gonna
about
sing?
the plural.
Are you gonna sing for us?
No, I'm not going to sing, but
Yeah.
I could read. Praise him, Jesus, our blessed Redeemer.
Oh, come on, sing it.
Sing, O earth, nope.
It
His
says sing
wonderful
right
love
there. Line 2
proclaim-
said you have to sing.
Nope.
Okay, go ahead.
Hail him, highest archangels in glory.
Right.
Strength and honor give to his holy
Right,
name.
so there you go. Here we have this famous hymn. Everybody loves the hymn. Hail him, highest archangels in glory.
Strength and honor.
Yep.
So our hymn book has more than one, but our Bible doesn't.
Nope,
Is what you're
nope.
saying.
It's the hymn is wrong.
Okay.
You'll never find archangels plural in the Bible. It only mentions the archangel singular. The reason we talk about archangels is modern Christianity and medieval Christianity, frankly. It's only been for a few centuries, well, I guess quite a few now, that we talk about archangels. It doesn't come from the Bible, but there is an old tradition in Western Christianity that names 7 archangels,
Okay,
7 of
so
them.
this is tradition, not
Right.
scripture.
Not scripture. There's nowhere in scripture that mentions 7 archangels. But
Okay.
traditionally, we name 7. Michael. Michael the archangel is one of the 7. I'll just run
Okay.
down the list. He's traditionally the protector of God's people. You mentioned earlier the big battle in Revelation chapter 12 where the angelic armies are driving Satan and his angels out of heaven. It names Michael as leading the angels in that particular case.
Right.
Daniel chapter 12 talks about Michael the archangel standing up for God's people. And he is mentioned as the archangel. He's called Michael the archangel in the Bible.
Okay.
And now you can already guess if archangels is singular in the Bible
Then
and there
he's
is only
the
one,
one.
Michael
Then
is
Michael
actually the
is-
archangel.
Okay, so he's specifically mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then traditionally we also have Raphael. He's a healing angel. He kind of oversees healing and doctors and hospitals and that kind of thing. Tradition says that he's the one who stirred the waters at the pool of Bethesda. You know the Bible story where a guy
Yes, of course.
has nobody to carry him into the water, and so
Right.
Jesus heals him. Medieval tradition says Raphael's the angel who came and stirred the water. The Bible, you can search it top to bottom. The Bible does not mention Raphael there. at all stirring the water. It just says an angel stirring the water, and it doesn't say archangel either.
So where does this name Raphael come from?
Comes from the apocryphal books. Comes from the book of Tobit.
Okay.
It's not a canonical book. It's valuable history, but the Jews didn't see fit to include this in the canon of Scripture because it's not Scripture. And actually, this idea that there are 7 superior angels comes from the book of Tobit as well. So
Interesting.
Raphael shows up there, but he doesn't show up in the Bible.
Scripture.
Gabriel does show up in the Bible. That's an angel. Never calls him an archangel, ever, ever, ever. He's a special messenger angel. His name means God is my strength. And as we've already mentioned, he's the one who brought messages to Daniel. He told Mary she was going to give birth to Jesus. Gabriel shows up time and time again, especially delivering major prophecies to major prophets, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tradition puts Gabriel in charge of communication. That's probably a safe bet.
Yeah. He's delivering important news. Sort of fits if you had to create something.
Yeah. Does not call him an archangel.
Okay. So he's an angel, a named angel, but not an archangel.
Correct. Okay, Jophiel means beauty of God. He's in charge of the arts, not in the Bible.
Okay.
Ariel traditionally is an archangel. He's not the Little Mermaid. He's an archangel in tradition. Isn't the Little Mermaid?
Ariel.
Ariel?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but no, there's no Ariel. It means Lion of God. The Ariel, the archangel traditionally is a he, not a Little Mermaid. He's in charge of the environment traditionally, not in the Bible. Number 5, Azrael. Him whom God helps. This one's kind of a dark angel. Traditionally, he stands at the gates of death and welcomes you into the afterlife, kind of like the Grim Reaper.
Angel of death.
Yeah, angel of death.
Okay.
Not in the Bible. Chamuel, or Chamuel. He who sees God, he's in charge of bringing peace to the earth. There you go. 7 archangels traditionally. There is only one archangel in the Bible, and that's Michael. Gabriel's the only other one in the list that shows up in the Bible, and he is not mentioned as an archangel. Gabriel and Michael are there. The rest are the stuff of legend. And where does that legend come from? Well, the Jewish scholar Shimon ben Lakish of Tiberias, he lived in the 3rd century after Jesus, said that the Jews brought back a lot of the names for these angels from Babylon. But they didn't get it from the Scriptures. They just sort of picked it up as a tradition.
When they're in captivity.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the medieval Christian church picked up those names via that route.
Right.
It's tradition.
Okay.
And only Michael, Michael and Gabriel are the angels, and only Michael is an archangel. And that makes sense, because if there's an archangel almost implies there can only be one. I guess you could have several ruling angels. I'll take that back. But it sort of implies there's only one ruling angel. And Michael the archangel is found throughout Scripture in 7 different stories. Jude chapter 7, you find him. And in that story, it says that he's disputing with the devil over the body of Moses. And it's kind of a cryptic thing. This is an old story from a non-biblical book called The Assumption of Moses. And I have a copy of that in my library. As you can imagine, as soon as I knew it existed, I got myself a copy. And it's an old story that says that after Moses died at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, he was buried by God himself. The Bible does say that, so no one knew where he was buried. The Assumption of Moses is an old story that says then God raised him from the dead and took him to heaven, which is why he appears at the Transfiguration on the Mount. And that the devil showed up and saying, hey, not fair. He doesn't have a right to go to heaven. I got kicked out, and he's a sinner too. That's sort of so Jude 7, verse 7, mentions that dispute, so we have reason to believe, because an inspired book of the Bible says so, that story is actually true.
Happened.
Yeah, at least the essence of that story is true. So Michael, the archangel, is the one disputing with the devil. Oh, yes, he has a right to go to heaven. Jesus is going to pay the penalty for sin.
Okay.
Michael shows up in Revelation 12. You've pointed that out. He leads the armies of heaven, driving the devil out of heaven. Daniel 12, I mentioned that one. Michael is the great prince who stands watch over God's people. And then in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, we're told that the voice of the archangel actually raises the dead at the second coming of Christ.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's in that famous passage that people read at almost every funeral.
Right.
Let these words comfort you, and do not be distraught as others are distraught. It's the voice of the archangel that raises the dead. So that's who Michael is. Now, I should probably mention that over the centuries, there's been a lot of speculation among Christians that Michael is not actually an angel at all, that he's not a created being. Now,
well, and this verse in 1 Thessalonians sort of made me say, when you said that as well.
Well, that verse in 1 Thessalonians 4 says that the voice of the archangel raises the dead.
Right.
But if you look at John chapter 5, verse 25, Most assuredly, I say to you, the hour is coming and now is when the dead will hear the
voice of the Son of God. So Jesus' voice.
Yeah, and those who hear will live. Verse 28, do not marvel at this, for the hour is coming in which all who are in the graves will hear his voice and come forth. So now it's the voice of Jesus that is raising the dead. So you got to ask yourself, all right, John says it's the voice of Jesus raises the dead. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 4, it's the voice of the archangel that raises the dead. So which one is it? Is it the archangel or is it Jesus? And the answer might be yes. Now, I want to be really, really careful because I'm about to walk into a hot potato. I know you can't walk into a hot. I'm about to pick up a hot potato and walk into dangerous ground, not walk in a hot potato. There are groups out there that have taken what I'm about to say and they've done the wrong thing. They use what I'm about to say to demote Jesus to something other than a full member of the Godhead. Right. So let me be clear. Let me put this disclaimer out there right now. I believe Jesus is the second person of the Godhead. He is fully God, fully divine. Jesus is God in human flesh. I do not want to detract from that. So I hope that was a pretty clear disclaimer.
Yeah,
right?
But that's important to clarify.
Right.
But Jesus is a member of the Godhead.
But what if Archangel is not actually an angel at all? What if it's another title for Jesus, as in Jesus is the commander of the angels? Again, Jesus is fully God. He is not an angel. He is not a created being. But what if Michael is simply a name the Bible uses for Jesus, particularly from before his birth, to describe him commanding the angels?
So it's more of a role that he played.
Right.
So, Sean, I imagine you have a lot of evidence to back this up.
Yes, I do. I wouldn't throw that on the table. If you look at, without knowing, look, I'm not alone in this. Adam Clark considers the possibility, at least in his famous commentary, he says, look, a lot of Christians have believed this over the years, and there's cause to believe it. Jesus is not an angel, but he might be the archangel, as in the commander of the angels. If you look at Daniel in 10 and 12, Michael is described as a great prince. And in that same book, chapter 9, Jesus is clearly described as Messiah the Prince.
True.
Daniel chapter 12, it says, Michael stands up for God's people, and then they rise from the dead. And we've already seen that the voice of Jesus raises the dead in John chapter 5. So we have a second appearance of the archangel in conjunction with the resurrection in Daniel chapter 12.
Right.
Then the Bible tells us that in Revelation 12, as you've pointed out, Michael led the heavenly angels. Jesus shows up in Joshua 5. He's described as the captain of the Lord's host. And Revelation chapter 19 shows Jesus leading the armies of heaven back to earth at his second coming. Right.
Yeah. And the fact that it's the voice of the archangel and the voice of Jesus that raises the dead, that seems to lend a lot of credibility to this idea, this concept.
It really does. And again, I know I'm being hyper careful, but there are cults out there that have tried to demote Jesus to he's just a created angel. We do not believe that.
That's important to underline.
Jesus created the angels. It says he created the principalities and powers in Colossians 1:16. Jesus is actually creator. He is God. So he's not an angel. And to suggest that Michael might be another title for Jesus is never going to, in my view of the Bible, ever suggest that Jesus is anything but God the Son. Archangel would just be a title that he used before the incarnation. It tells me that he is over the angels. Kind of like the President of the United States is commander-in-chief of the troops, even though the President of the United States is not himself a soldier.
That's a good way of understanding it.
So if this is true, and this is a maybe, you're free to believe what you'd like, but do your homework and study. If it's true, this just means Jesus is leading the armies of heaven, and he took personal responsibility to lead the angels to cast Satan out and so on. So if it is, the archangel is Jesus, then he's not an angel, he's the commander of the angels as God in human flesh. There's the break. We got to go and be right back.
Disclosure is just one of the programs brought to you by the Voice of Prophecy, like the audio adventure program Discovery Mountain. Discovery Mountain is a weekly Bible-based program for kids of all ages and backgrounds. Your family will enjoy faith-building stories with Jake Donovan, Mr. Simon, and others in this small mountain town. Each summer, campers visit Discovery Mountain, where they sing songs, learn about God, and reenact a Bible story with the help of drama teachers Miss Wendy and Miss Tamara. With 24 full episodes every year and programming every week, your family will have something uplifting to listen to every week. Listen to episodes on demand and watch video features from Director Doug at discoverymountain.com or on your favorite podcast platform. That's discoverymountain.com.
Did you hear me get caught by the clock in that last segment? Gotta go. Bye.
I did, because that rarely happens. So
No,
I
know.
I did catch
the clock
that.
on the wall hit 0, and I was still talking. Which
Imagine that.
No, I know, but I usually land on 0. We have
too.
clocks on the wall here, and they tell me when it's time to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I blew it. I think that might be the first time I've blown it ever. Well, not ever, but in this studio.
On
in
landing
this
on
studio.
0,
Oh,
it's very rare that you
pretty
miss
rare.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about Michael, the archangel. There is only one archangel in the Bible. We notice in John 5, the voice of Jesus raises the dead, and in 1 Thessalonians 4, the voice of the archangel raises the dead.
Right.
And the point we were making is that there has been a stream of thought in Christianity that says, well, maybe Jesus is the archangel.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he is an angel. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he is a created being. He's not. He is the creator. That's very plain in Hebrews 1, John chapter 1, and so on. The Bible's pretty clear that Jesus is the creator, and he's divine, fully divine, and he's God in human flesh. But in that case, then archangel would simply mean that he commands the angels, just like he does in Joshua chapter 5 when he appears to Joshua as the commander of the Lord's host. That's what theologians would call a Christophany. Jesus actually appears in the Old Testament, and he's telling him, I'm leading the army of angels against Jericho.
So it's more of a role, of a function. It certainly doesn't speak to Jesus being a created being. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, Sean, let's move on to what the Bible says about cherubim.
Right.
When you mentioned cherubs, I think we talked about this a little bit already. A lot of us think of those little baby faces with angel wings. We
And
see
you
them
love
on
them, don't
greeting
you?
cards.
You love them, don't you?
Well, it's cute. We think of Victorian art. I think that was probably the height, the Victorian era. But what does the Bible actually say about cherubs and cherubim?
Cherubim are, I've been studying cherubim for a long, long time. And they're a fascinating subject. They are not little chubby babies with wings. They're just not. In fact, the Hebrews aren't even the only ones who had cherubim, because the Babylonians had cherubim, and none of their cherubim looked like babies at all, the Babylonians. I mean,
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, no. They were a hybrid creature, kind of a lion's body, eagle's wings, and they would put a human head on there, usually the head of one of their kings. Yeah. And they didn't actually use the word cherub, I guess. They called them lamasu or shidu, and they were kind of the Babylonian equivalent of cherubim. And I guess that shouldn't come as a surprise, because we find close analogs to almost everything in the Bible in the mythology of the surrounding cultures, the people who live near Israel. So we find things in Babylonian culture that resemble things in Hebrew culture.
Now, I've heard it suggested that that's because the Hebrews stole their ideas from other cultures and that there's nothing original in the Bible.
I've heard
I'm sure
that.
you've heard that before,
Yeah,
too.
you can go on YouTube and find that nonsense everywhere. But you got to remember this. Look, if you believe the Bible is true, and I do, that's the point of this show. We're a Christian show. I'm not going to apologize. I believe the Bible. I believe it. But if you believe the Bible, then you've got to accept the fact that a fallen angel is a key character in that Bible, and that fallen angel used to be in heaven. He's perfectly capable of taking God's ideas and twisting them and creating counterfeits that distort the truth just enough that you lose sight of things. So there were sacrifices in pagan cultures too, but not sacrifice for sin, sacrifice to an angry God who...
To appease a God.
Yeah, exactly. And you also have to consider this fact. If the Bible account is accurate, then all of us come from one common source. At some point in the very distant past, we all had one story that we told. And then we diversify, we move across the face of the earth, and we take those same stories and we morph them over time. So the Babylonians also had a flood story, but it's nothing like ours.
So did many other cultures and histories have flood stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the Babylonians had cherubs and other things. So the fact that we find similar things in other cultures only confirms that we know they exist, and over time the stories have morphed and changed to suit the belief systems of different cultures. But none of those other cultures, just I got to put this out there, none of those other cultures and their mythology have the unbelievable accuracy of the Bible or the prophetic track record of the Bible. So after studying a lot of those cultures, I've come to the conclusion that the Bible's the only place that we can actually get the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does the Bible say about cherubs then?
Well, let's get started with the word itself. Cherub is the singular. We've mentioned that already. The plural is cherubim. And the root of this word is kind of shrouded in mystery. We don't really know for sure where it comes from, but there's an intriguing possibility that makes some sense. In the 19th century, there was a Bible student by the name of G. Bramley Moore who wrote a book called Cherubim of Glory. It's very, very rare. It was privately published, and in the 19th century, they only printed 500 copies.
Ooh, very rare.
But wouldn't you know it? I have one.
Of course you do.
Yeah, I do. I have one. Here's what it says about the word.
That's why our entire basement is full of books.
Yeah, I have one of these. Okay.
Yes.
The word cherub, he says, may be, this is Moore quoting here.
Okay.
The word cherub may be with correctness be translated a likeness of supreme greatness or power. So he breaks it down into two parts. K, or a kaf, k, and rub, K-R-B, cherub.
Okay.
Right? The first part, ka, means the likeness of, and rub, divine glory. It's where the word rabbi comes from.
Oh,
and so
interesting.
cherub, if you break it down that way, literally means the likeness of supreme greatness. So the idea is that a cherub is something or someone that reveals God's glory to the universe. It's kind of a job description.
So that would mean that Lucifer used to have that job. He used to be someone who showed God's greatness to the universe.
That's exactly right. You know, the Bible describes him as a covering cherub, a cherub, in Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 14. It calls Lucifer the anointed cherub who covers. So what does that mean? Well, something like 9 times throughout the Old Testament, God is described as the one who dwells between the cherubim. Here's an example. 2 Kings 19, verse 15. Hezekiah prayed before the Lord and said, O Lord God of Israel, the one who what?
Dwells between the cherubim.
Right? You are God, you alone of all the kingdoms of the earth. You find it in Psalm 99. You find it in Isaiah 37. When the children of Israel built the Ark of the Covenant, they put 2 golden angels on top known as
Cherubs.
covering cherubs. And God told Moses, you'll find it in Exodus chapter 25, listen, I'm going to communicate with you from between the cherubim. So what we have in the Ark of the Covenant is actually an earthly representation of God's throne in heaven, where God literally dwells between the cherubim. Right. And those covering cherubs are the ones who stand right next to the throne of God. And you find them all through the Bible. Ezekiel chapter 1, you have a vision where you have this whirlwind, and it's very confusing. And then he sees these living creatures, which he later describes, I think, in chapter 10, as cherubim. And then at the end of that vision, he looks up and sees the throne of God above them. The cherubim are right next to the throne of God. In Revelation 4 and 5, you find the same creatures that Ezekiel saw in his vision of the throne. And in Revelation 4 and 5, again, they're gathered around the throne of God. So the cherubim are the angels positioned closest to God. And if we've got the etymology right, their job is to broadcast God's glory to the universe from that position by his throne.
Wow.
Right.
Well, that really, Sean, says a lot about just how far Lucifer fell when he fell from grace.
Right. I mean, highest position in the universe. He was Lucifer is positioned as high as you possibly can be without actually being a member of the Godhead itself.
Yeah.
And of course, it was his pride, his desire for a promotion that led to his fall. Ezekiel 28:17 tells us he fell in love with his own beauty. Now, I do understand that temptation, I must say. You know, when I walk past the mirror in the morning and I catch a glimpse of myself, I look in the mirror and I think, I can see how Lucifer fell. I mean, because look at me, man.
Your pride kicks in?
Yeah.
Is that what happens?
No, that fell
you're
apart
not a
years
pride.
ago.
You're
I walk
not
past the
prideful.
mirror and I think, how did I turn into my dad? And now I turn into my grandfather.
Your dad's a good-looking guy.
He
Still
is?
looks
Yeah.
good.
No, he looks
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah.
Very good.
But no, that's never been a problem. That was Lucifer's problem, though, pride. Isaiah 24 says it went further than that. He actually begins to covet the throne of God. Hey, why aren't I
Yes.
running the show here?
Right.
He wants a promotion. So the Bible describes him as beautiful and talented. He is the only angel who ever gets mentioned for his, he gets honorable mention for beauty. You are stunning looking, it essentially says, but pride's not beautiful, and that leads to his expulsion from heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. And which we read about in Revelation 12, where it says that he took 1/3 of the angels with him, or the stars of heaven is how it's described. And I can only imagine the heartbreak that must have caused, because let's think about it, Sean. You said if there are more than 100 million angels left, then that represents 2/3. And that means that heaven must have lost, 50 million or more
a lot
angels?
of fallen angels, right? It's kind of breathtaking.
Because of Satan's pride.
Yeah.
That's how destructive that is.
It's astonishing how much heaven took a hit there. But there is another part of this cherubim story that I find equally breathtaking.
And what's that?
Well, from what I can tell, cherubim is not actually a species of angels. So you don't have drone angels like worker bees.
Right.
And you don't have
Right.
cherubim or another kind of created angel. It doesn't appear to be a species of angel. It appears to be a job description. And if G. Bramley Moore's etymology is right, that they're in the likeness of divine glory,
Right.
his description implies that it's a job description. Their job is to shine forth with God's glory. And it makes sense. If you think about this, you think about the idea that it's a job description and not a kind of angel.
Right.
Well, look, it makes sense. We can only assume that Lucifer is no longer a covering cherub now that he's been dismissed from heaven.
Of course.
Right? And when you study cherubim in detail, you come up with this interesting possibility. Let me show this to you.
Okay.
Okay. In the opening chapter of Ezekiel, which we looked at or touched on briefly, Ezekiel sees 4 living creatures. Look
Right.
at this carefully. And if you're at home, you might want to look this up or read it tonight, because this is fascinating. Ezekiel 1. As for the likeness, this is verse 10. As for the likeness of their faces, each had the face of a man. Each of the 4 had the face of a
Lion
lion
on the right side.
Right? Each of the four had the face of an ox, and each of the 4 had the face of an eagle. These were their faces. Their wings were stretched upward. Now, if you compare that chapter to Ezekiel 10, he calls these creatures cherubim. These are cherubim with, I'm writing that on this sheet, like I can demonstrate it to the world on radio. Write the word cherubim on your sheet. They're cherubim. And you'll notice they have 4 faces.
Right.
The primary face, the one that seems to be facing Ezekiel, is the face of a man. On the right side, a lion. On the left side, an ox. And then presumably around the back, you got an eagle.
Right.
It's a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. So now go to Revelation chapter 4 and you'll see something interesting. Here's
Very
what John
interesting.
sees. Okay, This is verse 6. Before the throne there was a sea of glass, like crystal. So it's the throne again, where you should expect to find cherubim.
Right.
And we've already established that. And in the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures full of eyes in the front and back. Ezekiel's creatures were also full of eyes.
Yes.
The first living creature was like a lion. The second living creature like a calf. It was an ox in Ezekiel's description. The third living creature had a face like a man. And the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle.
So it matches up, other than calf and ox.
Right.
It's the same.
So, yeah, exactly. In Ezekiel, you had these 4 living creatures with these 4 faces. And in Ezekiel 1, you look up at the end of that chapter and you see the throne of God. In Revelation, you have the same creatures again. And again, they're gathered around the throne of God. Now, here comes the interesting part. I know it's almost time for a break, but this is good. Revelation 5, verse 9. Here these creatures begin to sing along with the 24 elders in heaven. Revelation 5, verse 9, and they sang a new song saying, "You are worthy," they're singing to Jesus, "you are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth." So here they are. These are clearly cherubim, and they're saying, "You redeemed us from the earth." How in the world could an angel next to the throne of God be redeemed from this earth? They didn't need to. The unfallen angels didn't need to be saved. So that's a mystery. And the music is playing. It's good. This is a good cliffhanger. Come back after the break, and we will solve the mystery of why the cherubim say, "You redeemed us." We'll be right back.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions? Like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Does my life really matter to God? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers that you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter the most to you. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
Here we are in segment 4. We didn't have enough time to run to Target during the break.
No, we didn't.
Were you thinking about running to Target?
No, I wasn't.
No.
Honestly.
Yeah. You know, you're really pretty with headphones on.
Aw, thank you.
You're really pretty
You're
without
pretty
headphones,
with headphones on.
Am I pretty with headphones on?
Yeah.
I don't like being described as pretty.
I know.
Yeah. Hey, we're talking about cherubim, and we just unveiled a mystery. The cherubim are shown with 4 faces, a lion, a man, an ox, and an eagle in both Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 4. But then in Revelation chapter 5, the cherubim, along with the 24 elders, are singing, "You have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe, tongue, and people and nation." How can the cherubim...
How can they be described as being redeemed from the earth?
Right. It's confusing. It says they come from every tribe, tongue, people, and nation. And it says they're going to reign on the earth. And the way the Bible explains it, human beings reign with Christ after the second coming.
Right.
And it's human beings who have been redeemed from the earth by the blood of Christ.
So maybe cherub is a job description, and the Bible's telling us that redeemed humans will fill that role after the return of Christ.
It's mind-blowing, right? It's mind-blowing,
Yeah.
but it sure does seem that way.
Wow.
Go back to Revelation 4, verse 8 for a moment. Look at the job description of a cherubim. The 4 living creatures, each having 6 wings, were full of eyes round and within. And they do not rest day or night, saying, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come."
Who was?
Right. The cherubim spend their time proclaiming the glory of the Lord, which only makes sense. If they're the ones closest to the throne of God, their role is to relate his glory to the rest of the universe.
Wow. It's a lot to think about. It's really incredible what you're seeing here. And it would make perfect sense for redeemed human beings to fill that role, because we have more reason than anyone else to tell the universe about God's love, don't we? Sean, do you remember that old Christian hymn by Johnson Oatman?
Are you going to sing?
No, I'm
You're
not going to sing again.
Second opportunity.
When you read that verse, Revelation 4, verse 8, it reminded me of it. Holy, holy is what the angels sing, and I expect to help them make the courts of heaven ring. But when I sing redemption story, they will fold their wings. For angels never felt the joys that our salvation brings. And I think that's true. We, throughout the ages, have a story to tell about how he has redeemed us. And seeing this role of cherub as a position, that's really exciting to me.
Well, yeah. It's almost like Mr. Oatman spent a little time studying cherubim. And so is it possible that we get the job that Lucifer lost when he fell? Will we have the job description of cherubim when we get to heaven? I know we're doing some speculating here, but this is an amazing study. There was something really curious about the camp of Israel in the wilderness that makes me think that it's true that we do get the job of cherub when we get to heaven.
And what's that?
Well, whenever the Israelites pitched their camp, the tabernacle would be at the very center of the camp, and the literal presence of God would come into the most holy place and dwell above the Ark of the Covenant between the cherubs. Then the Levites would camp right around the tabernacle, and then there would be 3 tribes on each of the 4 sides of the tabernacle. They'd break up into numbers, into separate tribes. And there was one dominant tribe on each side. You can read about it in Numbers chapter 2, and what it tells us there is that there were 3 tribes on each side, and they all flew a standard, it says, their flag, their symbol of their... And when you compare that to the blessings and cursings found in Genesis 49 and so on, it's easy to figure out what these symbols were. Every camp flew its own flag, and there was one dominant camp on each side. So on the east, the dominant camp was the tribe of Judah, and its flag, its emblem, its standard was a lion, the lion of the tribe of Judah. To the north, you had the tribe of Dan, whose emblem was an eagle in the earliest days. Of course, they fell into apostasy. The symbol was changed to a serpent later. To the west, you had the tribe of Ephraim. Their symbol was an ox. And to the south, you had the tribe of Reuben. Their symbol was a man.
So again, you've got the lion, eagle, ox, and man
Camped around the tabernacle in the camp of Israel.
Wow. So the four faces of the cherubim were depicted on flags, and the four sides of the Ark of the Covenant, which represented God's throne.
Right. And those Israelites were human beings.
Right.
They were situated around the tabernacle because the tabernacle was designed to show the whole world the plan of salvation. These were people who were redeemed by the blood of lambs. You know, they symbolically did it with literal lambs. They're just like the creatures in Revelation chapter 5. And you'll notice in Revelation 5, Jesus shows up looking like a slain lamb. The imagery's from the Old Testament sanctuary. So it's entirely possible that cherubim is a job description for creatures who stand next to the throne of God, and their job is to show his glory to the whole universe.
Sean, you know, when you and I visited the Rock of Cashel in Ireland, there were, I don't know if you remember this, but there were engravings there that showed the four Gospels as the four faces of the cherubim, remember?
Yeah,
and the church used to teach that the four Gospels were doing the job of the cherubim because they were showing Christ's glory to the world.
Yeah, we used to teach this centuries and centuries ago. We kind of lost sight of it. Superstition buried it throughout the Dark Ages. But it's true. They actually assigned one face for each of the Gospels. It's, I can't remember now which one it was. John was the eagle taking us to new heights. But they assigned one of these faces to each of the four Gospels. And you find church fathers like Irenaeus saying, well, of course there are four Gospels. There's four faces of the cherubim. Four different ways to present the glory of God, and so on. Right. So we used to teach it. This is the job that Lucifer used to have, but what it seems to be saying is that we will get that same job after our ultimate redemption at the second coming.
Wow.
Here's what the Bible says in Revelation 21.
Okay.
Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. A few verses later, it measures New Jerusalem, and it's a cube. It's a cube. Just like the most holy place was, it was a perfect cube, and that's the place where they kept the Ark of the Covenant. Then when you read the description of the New Jerusalem in Revelation, there are 3 gates on each side, and the names of the tribes are above each gate, just like there were 3 tribes on each side of the tabernacle in the Old Testament sanctuary, the Old Testament. So it seems like the tabernacle was not just a practical prophecy about the sacrifice of Jesus at the cross, it also showed us the entire plan of salvation all the way down to our ultimate restoration into paradise and back into the presence of God.
Just this idea that Lucifer might get replaced by us. Sean, the idea that a human could play that role, it really does show the ultimate restoration that would be restored to us.
I was reading just the other morning, because I'm working my way through the book of Zechariah now, and in Zechariah 10, verse 12, God promises that his people one day will walk up and down in his name. And it says in Ezekiel 28 that originally Lucifer used to walk up and down in the midst of the stones of fire in God's presence. And so it's fascinating to me. And that would be the ultimate coup for God.
Yeah,
here's an angel who questions God's government, and he begins to question God's character. Is he really fit to run the universe? He's done his level best for centuries to discredit God's character, to discredit God's government. He's tried again and again to get us to hate God, and he even pulls the whole human race into his rebellion. But then God becomes one of us. He takes on human form. He shows us his love and character in an unbelievable fashion, even dying for us and paying the penalty for our sins, which proves that the devil is nothing but a liar and a murderer. Then Jesus forgives us, he restores us, he takes us into his kingdom, and we're given the very role that Lucifer used to play in the first place. The people who had been deceived by Lucifer into mistrusting God now have the job of telling the universe how good God is. So it means that the rebellion Satan pulled here on earth completely backfires, and it makes God even look better.
Yeah, that's true. It really would be the ultimate display of how good God is.
Right.
He let that whole process play out, and still we chose him, and we love him, and we're there right at the throne of God. That's
Now,
incredible.
we are speculating just a little
Yes.
bit, but I think that if you read the whole Bible through, there's an indication that where Lucifer was cast out of heaven as a covering cherub, we will be given the job of showing God's glory. This is why the cherubim in Revelation 4 and 5 are saying, you redeemed us from the earth, and we will reign on the earth with you. That's human beings who do that with Christ.
Yeah. And we have a story to tell for all ages.
Cherubim. You and I might be cherubim
Wow.
one day.
That's that's really hard to even just sink in. It really is.
We don't become angels. Want to be
Right.
clear. We don't. It's a
Different.
job
Talking
description.
about a role.
That's
a
right.
role that
That's
some of us mere humans may have the privilege of playing.
Yeah.
So we've talked about cherub. We've talked about cherubim. We just have a few minutes left. Can we talk about seraphim?
Yeah, we have a lot less detail on seraphim.
Okay.
They're mentioned less often. They are mentioned in Isaiah's vision of the throne room in Isaiah chapter 6. This is one of the... There's only a handful of places in the Bible where you get to peek inside the throne room of
And
heaven.
Isaiah's a beautiful example.
Here we go. Isaiah 6, verse 1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne. So the throne is there again. Notice that.
Right.
High and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. There's always a connection between God's throne and the temple. Above it stood seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Remember, that was the job of the cherubim in the likeness of divine glory. That's their job, what it means to show forth. So they sing the same kind of song the cherubim sing in Revelation 5, and it says they have 6 wings instead of 2. I've seen places that describe 4 wings as well. Here's what's interesting. These seraphim have 6 wings. Revelation 4, verse 8 tells us that the living creatures, the cherubim, in that passage also have 6 wings.
Right.
And they're singing,
Holy, holy,
holy, holy,
Right.
holy. So there might just be some overlap here. The
Interesting.
word seraph, that's the singular for seraphim, might just be another job description for the same angels. The word literally means burning ones. Burning ones. And you'll remember the cherubim in Ezekiel chapter 1 looked like torches and lightning. They were burning.
Right.
Here's what's interesting. In John 5 and verse 38, Jesus has a description for John the Baptist that's really kind of weird. It's strange when you read it. He calls John a burning and shining lamp. That's actually what the word seraph means. He just called John, without using the word itself, called John the Baptist a shining lamp. And John, of course, was bearing witness to the coming Messiah.
Okay.
Again, it's a showing the glory of God job. It's a job description. And if we get that job in the coming kingdom, it tells you a lot about the way that God values the human race, even though we have fallen. It tells you a lot about God's love. He's not just trying to save us. I mean, it would be enough. If I could squeak past the gate into heaven, I would be thrilled. And I just like, give me a tiny little corner in heaven here somewhere, Lord. I'll just go hide in the corner and mind my own business. I'm just so happy to get in. God's offering so much more than that. He's not trying to squeak you into heaven. He's not just trying to save you. He's trying to restore you. And then he has you share in the ultimate glory that Christ has.
He restores us in dignity. You know, Sean, it makes me wonder why anyone wouldn't want to choose to be on God's side right now, right in this moment, knowing what that future and what his plan is for us.
Right. Try and think about what we've looked at. You know, Jesus promises to those who overcome that they will share his throne. That's in Revelation. It's either 2 or 3. I suddenly have the reference, but he says, I will share my throne with you. That scene in Revelation 4 and 5 is in the throne room of God. And there are these redeemed people there saying, you redeemed us and we will reign with you. We will be in the throne room of God. We're not going to be hiding in some corner. We're going to be in his presence, fully restored, and he shares his kingdom with us. And we can scarcely imagine what that's going to be like. You know that famous passage in 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9, where Paul writes, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him.
Right.
right? It'd be enough to get admitted in.
Yes.
But whatever God's got planned is going to be beyond our wildest expectations. I don't know that we could imagine it, because I have to use my imagination for that throne room scene in Revelation 4 and 5. I can't get my head around that. I can't.
It's too magnificent for us to even begin to picture, I believe.
Yeah. He's going to share his throne with us. It's Revelation 3. I just remembered. Revelation 3, it says he's going to make us a pillar in his temple. He's going to confess our name before the angels. And what's really happening is that we are restored to something even greater than we were before we fell from sin. That's the goodness of God right there. He takes a disaster and he turns it around such that you're not just restored, you're made better than you ever were. There's the music. I guess this is my challenge to you. Want to be in that throne room? It's up to you. God offers it right now. Thanks for listening.